We're live. I'm so used to Luxembourg, where we always tend to start 15 minutes late. So we have, I think, 400 people enrolled in the hybrid session. Hello, we are. And hello to you. I'm wondering actually why you are here. Besides the fact that I invited some of you. But actually, we were discussing with one of my former colleagues why we would do an event on female CEOs. If this should be really topic that would interest people. And indeed, it's a question, right? So if that is a question, I think the answer is yes. And I think it is an interesting topic, and not because I consider myself as personally particularly interesting. I do consider these ladies very interesting, but I wanted to start this event with some figures on where we are in Luxembourg with the development of female leadership topic. Can we have the slide, please? What I did, right, yeah, I looked into some figures from the Women in Finance, which I think the majority here in Luxembourg know. It's an initiative that was launched last year. Some of the founding members are sitting here. It's an initiative to increase gender diversity on the Luxembourgish finance market across all financial types of financial organizations. Majority are banks, of course, but then you have associations, you have investment firms, asset management, but also insurance companies. The last year when it was launched, there were 70 companies defined, out of which 50 were insurance/reinsurance companies. And those companies who signed charter giving themselves targets on where to go with equal share of management positions in women. They represent roughly 30,000 employees of the finance industry, which is a little bit less than 50%, right? And I found that the figures are interesting. Can we have the next slide? Because it does show that there is still a way to go. So the first thing that I found interesting was that out of all the employees in the finance industry working part-time, 80% are women. And only 4 out of 10 working full-time are women. This is the first thing I found really interesting. I was surprised by these figures. And then if you look, no, please back, that's not that. If you look into the other graph, you see that in the positions without management responsibility, you have a fair share, half women, men, right? It's also 5 years. And then the more you go up in the hierarchical level, the less women you see, right? Surprisingly, there's a higher percentage in boards nowadays than in the executive level. So we can see. And next slide, please. If you look now into really how the insurance/reinsurance firms work, you see it's interesting because out of the 15 companies that signed the charter, there we have, so the employees are really half men, half women. And amongst the female staff, 65% do work in positions without any responsibility, while amongst men it's half. Half of the men have management responsibility, the other half. Then if you look into junior, middle, and senior management, right, so team leaders and head of, there it's roughly the same, which is already good, right? In order to promote somebody into a C-level, required that you have some military experience. So this is already good information. But then if you look at the top, so board and excos, C-suite, then you see, of course, there are far more men in the insurance companies than women. To cheer us all up a little bit, these are the women amongst us, I think it's interesting to look into the rest of the industry. So you see that it can be worse, right? So in banking or asset management, there are far less women in management position than in the insurance world, but there's still room for improvement. So what can we do as an industry? So one initiative that was launched 10 years ago is the Diving Festival, where we are today, and big thank you to the Lloyd's in London, who is who has the lead on organizing this festival. It's a festival that regroups in insurance companies, reinsurance companies, consulting firms. KPMG, thank you for hosting us. Is also a member of this, a sponsor, one of the big sponsors, and brokerage companies, of course, across the globe. Of course, it was launched in the London market. It's still very strong in the English-speaking world. For Luxembourg, it's relatively new now with us here. And this festival aims to foster gender equality, but more even to create an understanding in all levels of workforce, to understand that it is not only a luxury topic. We need for the industry to be resilient, to be strong, to be prepared for the future. And also, I feel personally that in the world we are living in, right, with all the crises that we have, with all the insecurity, it is important to make sure. I think we all believe that insurance is an industry that will exist. It's a good principle, right, to share risk, to find risk together, and as a society to help each other in the moment of need. And so, of course, as an industry, we have to make sure that everybody feels welcome, that we also understand that with different kinds of people in our workforce, we are better. And now the thing is, in this discussion, I had a former colleague whom I explained some weeks ago how excited I was about this event today. And he said, why do you have to have a forum about female leadership? Why is it under diversity? You're not diverse, you're not a minority, you're women, you're half of the society. I think that the figures show that still is room for more, right? More female leadership. But then, of course, we discussed also with the team who prepared this. Is this why do you need more women in leadership positions? Is there a specific female leadership style? And of course, all the forums I ever attended, all the women who were asked this question would say, no. Of course, I have my personal leadership style. There's no such thing as a female leadership style. I don't know. And is it? Then you could ask, well, it's also maybe for the fairness, right? Why would women earn less, and why would women not want to be a driver seat, right? And give the direction. Again, do we need this? Is this something that is this a thing? The female leadership? I don't know. I don't have the answer. But maybe as a collective intelligence, we will not come to an answer, but maybe give new thoughts, food for thoughts, and maybe inspire some thinking for you personally, something to take home with you, and ask yourself: is there something we can find in common, or something that we as women do maybe? I have promised in the invite that there would be another woman present. That would be the minister, Ms. Yuriko, Minister for Defense and Diversity and Inclusion and Mobility. As you hear, she's not only focusing on diversity, she has also other topics. So unfortunately, she couldn't be with us. Maybe we can, but she sent us some greetings. Can we maybe show the greetings before we start with the I'm happy that I don't have to put the video on. I heard her voice.
She's here.
Dear all, I first of all wish you a wonderful 10th edition of the Dive-In Festival. For a decade, you have fostered a global movement in the insurance sector to support the development of inclusive and diverse workplace cultures. This is more than commendable, and I am sure your next 10 years will be equally successful, if not more so. This is the first year the festival is hosted in Luxembourg, and the country is proud to have you. At the Ministry for Gender Equality and Diversity, we work on doing our diverse society justice by fostering inclusion at all levels. An inclusive working environment allows every individual to grow and contribute meaningfully to the organization. Our Positive Actions program plays a crucial role in creating structures that promote inclusion. Established in 1999, it aims at making gender equality a tangible reality in the workplace. We have 3 overarching priorities: equal treatment at work, including equal pay for equal work, equality in recruitment processes, and equal training opportunities. In decision-making, we must ensure women and men have equal access to leadership positions through transparent processes. Lastly, work-life balance, where we promote measures that help employees balance their professional and personal lives, which is key to inclusion. More than 150 companies from various sectors, including industry, commerce, healthcare, and finance, have successfully participated in the program. These initiatives have led to concrete improvements in employee well-being, reduced staff turnover, and enhanced company performance. We also encourage companies in the insurance sector based in Luxembourg to join the program and improve their practices around equal opportunities. I wish you a great time at the Dive-In Festival and many fruitful exchanges. Thank you.
There will be some questions at the end. There's a Q&A session. Then you look forward to lessons. So again, I would really thank you, Jean, for hosting us. Really lovely. Thank you for being our host. Thank you for Monica from Liberty. And where is she? Marvi from France 3. They are my pillars in the organization of this event. And of course, thank you to the government. My name is Cornelia. I'm the CEO of Sompo International Insurance Europe. We are one of the leading P&C insurance companies and insurance companies. Where the EU headquarters based in. Maybe we start with an introduction round. Octavie, would you mind?
Yes. Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. So, Octavie Dexant, I'm the CEO of AXA Luxembourg and AXA West Europe. So, I'm French. So I'm 40 this year, and the part of who I am is the one of nurse gender 3 in this class.
Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Amandine. I'm the CEO of Vanesa Insurance SA, a local insurer. And prior to that, I spent a bit of time with Lize-Mari at C3 and also at CNA, where I was leading the European operation after Brexit as well.
Great on. I'm from Swiss Re. I'm originally from South Africa. I relocated to Luxembourg 12 years ago. I'm at Swiss Re. I hold the position as the global CFO for our P&C reinsurance business, and I'm also the country president for Swiss Re in Luxembourg, and it's a great pleasure to be here today.
Hello everyone, my name is Vanesa Herrero, and I am the CEO of Technical Europe. I'm from Barcelona, born and raised in Barcelona, and I moved here to Luxembourg 1.5 years ago to take over my role as CEO of Technical Europe, and I'm very happy to be here as well.
Great, thank you. Okay, let's jump directly into the question. I would also start again where you are well seated here. My question is, Octavie, is when in the preparation of the event today, I read again your resume. I stalked all of you, of course, on the internet to know more details. So you have a very impressive intellectual background, right? You studied at Louis le Grand and then at Sciences Po. So you could also be sitting at Élysée Palace and reign over France, right? I guess from your parcours. But still, you are now leading an insurance company. And would you mind sharing with us a bit about your personal experience? I understand that you have been in the insurance industry for 15, 16 years, long time, and you after starting in audit. Did you join, and why did you join insurance? How did you find insurance, or maybe did the insurance industry find you?
Lots of chance from you. Let's see. So my last internship, so to validate a master in finance, I had an opportunity at Allianz. And to be fully honest, I took the job, which Allianz, and I just saw that I just set aside the fact that it's insurance because I was definitely not using it. In the end, I didn't like at all the job. But I kept insurance in mind, there was this kind of noble purpose, when you help people get back on track when something wrong is happening, you allow people to take risks and to their life because you're supporting them in case something wrong happens. So I think this. Then I joined, I decided because I thought it was a very good school, I can say a professional school to join audit, financial audit, but financial audit for insurance companies. So I stayed in insurance, so it starts. So I spent 3 years at Filip in Paris. And then after 3 years of serving just 3 years, I realized that that was not a moment for me. I'm kind of crazy person. I love seeing technical intuition and stuff. So it was not fully compatible with financial audit. So I decided to change. I joined the headquarters of AXA at the group strategy, where I spent 4 years. And then after 4 years, I joined international business unit at AXA, which was dedicated to credit production all around the world. And so I was in charge of strategy. I became the general secretary of it when we both own competitor and we merged those together. In parallel of this, at the end of this task, production, there was a big RFP tender launched by ING, the bank, to find a global partner in insurance. And so I was in charge of leading that tender, we won it. And so then I became the co-lead of ING as a kind of virtual joint venture for 4 years until the end of 2021, when I was called for Luxembourg.
And moving to Luxembourg, you live in Luxembourg, right?
Yes.
Was not this did not hinder you to take on the job.
It was a full surprise. When I said yes to the job, I never went to Luxembourg before, so it was kind of surprise is a fact, but a very good one.
And is this how does it work in your group? Are these positions where you it's always a French sent over for a certain period of time, like a diplomatic position, or is this something where you were just the woman to do it and you will do it until retirement?
So, no, there is no rules. There are no rules. So at some point that they are looking for someone. I hope that that matches for someone or a position. And so it's, you never know, you never know what happens, you never know what will be the challenges, how it can grow. If there is a need of you somewhere else at some point, when you're in a big group, it's quite dynamic in terms of career, I would say. So you can have other opportunities that can have you in mind for something else. So yeah, I would say it's probably less long steps than you have if I'm comparing insurance. So to Cornelia, for example, you have probably more kind of stability over years. It's not unstable on our side, but it's more moving. It's part of the culture, to be able to have different steps to grow and with several differences, which is nice.
Thank you. Lize-Mari, you did your almost entire career was the Swiss Re group. Right? I put Swiss Re group because when reading through your current works, it's you're having so many different hats on, right? You are the president of the local organization, and then you have a group function for P&C reinsurance, and you have a large number of different things that you do, right? That's very impressive. And you build your career in this group, and you started building the career in the group when you were still living in your home country in South Africa. And then like 10, 12 years ago, the group decided, you moved to Luxembourg. Now the question is, how did this geographical change, this geographical mobility impact your vertical view? You want to share this?
Sure, and again, I'm very happy to be here and to share my story today. And it's important, it's my story, so everyone has their own story, but I want to share it because I think if there's one or two things that people listening, either in the room or online, can take away that could help them on their own career journey, it's worth it. So, as you mentioned, maybe as a little bit of background, Cornelia, I actually started with PricewaterhouseCoopers in South Africa, but majority of my career has been with Swiss Re, and I've been with the company now for nearly 19 years. At a point in time in South Africa, when I became the CFO, and I had experience on property and casualty and life and health, I clearly came a point to self-realization that I want to be more, and I want to explore, and I want to spread my wings. And at that point in time, as I made that self-realization, I also realized that it's a point in time that I have all the support that I need for that around me. I had the self-confidence that I could do that, and I'm ready for that. I have my full family backing behind me, knowing who I am and what my ambitions are. And I had a wonderful group behind me, Swiss Re Group, where I had all this support and acknowledgement of the group that they want to develop this young girl sitting in South Africa and use her with me, grow me, and develop my potential. So at that point in time, I just realized that I had this belief, and although I realized at a point in time, people is going to say, why her? Here, this young female CFO in South Africa is moving to Luxembourg, coming to head our European operations in Luxembourg, knowing that I don't have much of the technical experience in my toolbox. I'm not trained in Luxembourg. I have a South Africa background, so I don't know the accounting rules, tax rules, anything in Luxembourg. I don't have my network here. So I realized that I would have to prove myself. But I also realized that I built a sufficient toolbox from which I can draw. That is my background, my training in South Africa, my connections within the group, and so much more. I also realized that it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to spread my wings and to join an international, wonderful organization that is international all over the world and is close to my heart in terms of diversity and inclusion. So I decided to do it. And what made me achieve that? As I said, firstly, I stayed true to myself. I realized that I need to do more and contribute more to the world. I had the triangle and the support around me, including, my own networks, my family, and the group. And I had the right sponsorship. And that's something super important in your career. Not just a company that is fully behind you, but you have individuals that act as sponsors and really help you on your career journey. So I progressed. I moved to Luxembourg. I was the CFO here of legal entities in Luxembourg for a number of years. And I moved on further to become the Europe, Middle East, and Africa CFO. And then I moved on to general manager of the companies in Luxembourg, country president of Luxembourg. And now I hold the global property and casualty CFO role, being based in Luxembourg, but responsible for our property and casualty business around the world. And a few things I want to share from my journey over the last number of years on how I vertically progressed. The first thing is that you need to ensure that you are undeniably the strongest horse in the race. That's really important. And strongest horse does not mean just looking at the CV requirements. It means you look at EQ and IQ. You look at your education and your experience. You look at your leadership and your technical capabilities. And you aim high, and you make sure that you position yourself to be the strongest horse in the race. Always stay true to yourself and your authentic self. Don't fit into a mold or being shaped into a certain mold. When you're chosen for a certain reason, and it's important that you reflect back and make sure you remain on that journey. What you want to be, what you want to achieve, and where you want to go. Also important in your career to build on your spider web of networks. Always when I went to one step, I already thought 3 steps ahead. If I achieve this now, where do I want to be? The next step and the step after. And accordingly, build your spider networks, personally, within your company, within your country, within your industry. As part of the journey, it's really important. I also have 3 young kids. So over the last 12 years that I've been in Luxembourg, I had kids, and there were many times where I was asked, how can you do this? How can you be so ambitious and at the same time have 3 young kids? It is really important that you have to prioritize and organize your life and build all the right networks around you, depending on the journey, where you want to go and where you want to. I always say that if you want to reach a certain seniority in your career, it's really important that you stay on the development curve to get you there, and that you do not fall behind. And I truly believe that's why so many female ambitious females actually fall behind at some point, because they feel it's a choice of either that or that. In my journey, it was never an either or. It was, I can do both. I just organize and prioritize my life accordingly. So these are a few things that just helped me as I progressed in my career with all my vertical movements to always keep in mind. Most important is just to stay authentic to my true self, who I want to be and where I want to go.
Right. Wow. I'm so happy that you organized this. It was so inspiring. Thank you. Vanesa, you a little bit like the others, we developed also your career within one group. Although I think you told me that your organization was there was different mergers on the way.
Changes, yeah.
You stayed where you are, but the name of the company it employed you changed from time to time.
Yes.
Currently, you're working in Luxembourg in one of these, but in one of the EU headquarters that were placed here in the course of Brexit. And so like several of us, you are therefore in a very, very international organization ambiance. Can you share a little bit how these cross-cultural strategies or identities shaped your career?
Yes, so as mentioned by yourself, I've been for a long time a part of Lize-Mari Europe. However, at the beginning of my career, we were a subsidiary of an American company. So at that point in time, we were mostly influenced by the American culture. In 2015, we were taken over by the Japanese Tokyo Marine. So then came in the Japanese culture. And then as part of the Brexit, we became fully shareholder company of a UK company based in Luxembourg. So in reality, I think it's common to many people in the market that you have a lot of cultures within your company that work all at the same time together. So being Spanish and coming from a US sort of experience, as you can imagine, when we were taken over by the Japanese company, it was quite a shock because Spanish people are very direct. We have a reputation for that. Americans are very direct as well. So it did require a lot of adapting at the beginning, and also when we started to have a higher relationship with our UK shareholding company. But I think it's very important to know how to adapt to these differences. Of course, it is very important to be able to cope with that in your international atmosphere, which I think is in the majority of the cases. But it's also true that it's very enriching and you learn a lot from that. Usually my strategy on how to deal with this was a little bit of trial error, to be honest. So not much thought put into that. But I also consider myself very lucky that I always had colleagues that, especially when the Japanese takeover took place, would tell me how to communicate with Japanese. And that's very important. So I think communication is key in everything, but especially when you're dealing with different cultures, it's very important to have effective communication, right? To understand what they're really telling you, especially when you're dealing with cultures that are much more subtle than your own, or like Japanese or the UK. So it's really important to make sure you understand what is being told, and make sure you also adapt your communication style to what is expected, because I think that's very important in order to achieve what your goals. So kind of a bit differently to what you said, Lize-Mari, I would say it is important to be yourself. A lot of people will tell you be yourself, but I think you should be yourself if you're being successful. But if you're not being that successful, you need to adapt to the environment you're in and make sure that you take the behaviors that will be successful, make you successful as a person.
Yeah, totally right. And it's a lot about there. I think we do have a topic because generally, as a generalization, I feel that men in business or in leadership positions tend to talk less. Right? They just talk less. And I was in an organization where the male leaders tend to say just very short sentences, and then they get silent. And I was there like a chicken. I go, oh, I'm talking, because I had so many arguments and everything. So, and at one point, I thought this will not work for me. They would just, maybe they just don't have they were just at one point stop listening. So if I want to be heard, I have to adapt to their communication style. So I started, you can't take this from today because I'm talking a lot, but in board meetings, I tend to just talk this now. Is this something you say that we have to adapt to the communication style of your?
I think yes. I think you need to adapt to the communication style and understand that, for example, in Japanese culture, everything is more consensual. So you usually need to get everyone's agreement before a decision is made. You need to explain it very well, go into much detail. Maybe in the UK culture, it's more common to discuss something in a meeting and maybe the basic points, and that will make you agree on something. So you need to take all that into account if you really want to attend a meeting with people from different cultures. And sometimes it can be quite fun when you have all of these together.
Yeah, thank you. Amandine, you are also in a very different cultural context now. And I think what differentiates you from the other colleagues here is that you organized your entire career here in Luxembourg, right? So you started in audit as well, right? And then one point, I don't know for what reason, you then switched into insurances, and then now you are at your third insurance company, right? So maybe that's very interesting for me to find out how you see how resilient you think the market is, and how you shaped your goals and your strategy for your professional development here in the Luxembourg market.
A lot of questions in one. As best I can. So first of all, I use the Luxembourg markets, and I can see quite some space in the assembly. We have been here for a long time. I think the market is very resilient. I've been here for almost 20 years, and I've always been surprised how agile people are, and how the market managed to basically to address all the challenges and all the changes the world has over the last 20 years. I'm coming from France, and French people are really reluctant to try to change the government's pension program in France, and you will see the results. So I've always admired this in Luxembourg, and I think it's a great sign that it's a very resilient market. It's also resilient, I think, because first of all, it's very stable politically. It has managed to be small tech, a lot of opportunities by being opportunistic. And so I saw, or you probably heard of, space mining or the IP box 10, 15 years ago, which I've always worked in business in Luxembourg and have helped grow the market. So for overseas, I think that the Lux market is extremely resilient, and I was kind of lucky to be my career here. Then you asked me how it shaped my goals. So basically, it did not really shape my goals. I'm not like you, I'm not planning Swiss sector. I'm just trying to take the most of the opportunities that are presented to me. And I think this agility has helped me to basically build this career. But I will try to now since and from a professional perspective, spending all my career has helped me to becoming a bit more open-minded, because this is a very diverse, and this is a very important point as well for the Lux market. It's very diverse. And I was traveling in my previous role. So I've always worked here, but I was traveling in other countries when I was heading the European business for CNA before. I was heading 6-7 branches, and so I was really to visit them. And I can see the difference being in Luxembourg and having a company with, I think we have 23 citizenship currently in my company. And compared to going to an exco in one of the European countries and having people all from the same nationality, all with a similar backgrounds, the ideas and the kind of spirit of innovation is very different. And so I think we really need to take this as a good chance for us to constantly improve where we work. And then finally, from a personal perspective, I think Luxembourg is a very easy place to grow kids. I also have not that small kids anymore, but they're still young, and I'm still taking care of them. And I think it has been very easy for me to manage my work life and my private life in this area. Everything is less difficult. I find in Luxembourg, everything is secure. It's a secure environment. So this has been very easy to help me grow in my different roles as well. Maybe that's me with that compared to 20 years ago, I think we need to be careful and collectively to the politicians and the economic worlds. We need to make sure that the markets continue as a country, continue to be resilient, because we need to ensure that we continue to attract talents, and having this lack of, or maybe lack of competitivity, and in the future we need to be careful.
So Cornelia, it's your time now. Talking about talent, what is your experience as CEO in relation to talent retention in Luxembourg?
Yeah, I think it is, I think when it comes to the leadership roles, we do have two different types, right, of positions. We have how these positions are filled. There's one where the company just, where the groups develop their own talent, and then they pick and choose who out of the talent pool is the perfect match for the role. Or somebody sitting in South Africa could develop over some years into the role of becoming the leader in Luxembourg, for example, just to mention one example we had, right? Or the opening group where indeed the leadership positions in Luxembourg were always filled by somebody who came from the group, was sent here for a certain period of time and then went back. And then there are also the positions that for which the Luxembourgish market is used to recruit the best bench. When the group, it's often in these Brexit companies, I think, when the group relies on local competence, right? When the group needs to have somebody who is already experienced, who knows the regulator, who knows the regulation, who knows the law, who speaks the languages, and so forth. And then of course, what I think is a bit of what makes it a bit tricky here sometimes is that the majority of the companies are small. Right? I've got 15 people in my organization. In my former company, the regulator always says, "Oh, Cornelia, stop complaining. You're one of the bigger companies, we had 100. It's not huge, right? If you look at Allianz in Germany with thousands of people, or Ergo with literally thousands of people in one place. And of course, in my organization today, I have one finance, one accountant, one risk management, one compliance, one actuary, one speech, right? It's how can I develop someone? It's unless they change roles, which of course they can't because they have we hire them for specific competencies. And this is a bit tricky because I feel that people in the insurance companies here, they want to develop. Either they switch the company, right? They rotate amongst all of us here, or they have to switch the country. They have to go, right? When you belong to a bigger organization, you often have the possibility to send somebody to London or to Cologne or to, I don't know where, Spain. But then, of course, the personal development all of a sudden becomes a major thing, right? Because you have to think relocation, you have to think family, or you have to think of commuting. And when I joined, when I was asked, so my personal career, at the moment when I was asked to join the executive committee in my former company, I thought it would be an easy deal for me to just commute. So we had moved as a family to Berlin some years before, where I was then working remotely, taking care of the German market, and then was joined when I was offered to join the Expo. I thought I would do like my male colleagues and just, well, take the train or the airplane on Monday morning and return home Friday afternoon. I did this literally during 6 weeks, and I said, "But this can't go on. My family will forget me." It's so either I put an end to my career, go back to the job that I had before, or the family moves. I was lucky that my I had something here to feminist daughters who were able and willing to support my career, and a nice husband who was willing to join. Of course, with children, it's always easier, right? You can bribe them. We have 2 pets. Thank you. But the price you have to pay. But this is what I think is a bit makes sometimes the market a bit tricky, that we are often so small organizations. Well, AXA is relatively big here, but of course it's nothing compared to Paris, right? Or Motte. I don't know where AXA is all over France, and
I believe it's said in the West Germany as well. Well, behind that's very clear. And that's at some points, you have 2 people doing the job, so you have really like us. Anything happen, then you have to manage. So it's the small companies daily change. You learn to do multitasking.
Yeah, it's a bit. I see that for people who want to develop their career, it can be. Of course, as an employer, I value people staying with me, right? So I don't encourage anybody to move. While of course I understand that if you want to develop a career at one point or another, it's maybe geographical mobility is that, I think. So we have some other questions that we prepared, where it's a collective question to where each of us can give, the 3 of us can provide the answer. So maybe first question to come back, because this is really a topic that I really don't have an answer, but I find so interesting. Do you think that you approach challenges in a different way than your male peers? So is there a value in diversity? Is there a female way of doing things? Amandine, what do you think?
I think probably in terms of collaboration, in terms of communication, in terms of leadership. But I don't think the importance is here. I think the importance is that you bring diversity into the boardroom. And whatever, because from the 5 of us, we all have a different leadership style. We are all bringing different things to the organization, to the working. But what is important is that bringing some women or bringing some people from abroad in a boardroom or in an executive committee is very important because diversity will bring some competitive advantage and will bring some long-term added value to the company. But maybe you disagree with me?
Vanessa, you were moving to your hand when I asked the question.
I don't think it was voluntarily. I'm happy to answer the question. I think that there are some behaviors that are more related with leadership that maybe are more identified traditionally with attributes men have, like being very, very much more goal-oriented, more focused, more aggressive sometimes, more decisive. However, I think that the way leadership is going now, there's other attributes that are becoming very, very important as well. And so as a result of the attributes of leadership, a lot of women traditionally were very strong on these kind of attributes as well. So they're very aggressive and I think now the new leadership style requires you to develop other behaviors that are more maybe related traditionally with women, like being more collaborative and more self-caring. I think that given the importance we have in this, we have with talent retention, it becomes more and more important on leadership decisions to be able to engage people and to make sure that you care about them, to be able to work in a good environment. And I think in this case is where these kind of attributes that are often related to women, but also present in a lot of men, are becoming more and more important in these leadership positions.
So speaking of balance, I think it's also a big asset to open the doors of leadership position to women, because we have a talent crisis, I think, all across Europe and across the world. So if you are more open-minded in who you bring to your exco, that's also a good way to treat it.
It was interesting. This morning, I read an article in one of the German big newspapers, specifically about our question here. And there was a study published recently in Germany saying that indeed, for talent retention, female leadership is good. So people tend to stay longer in the same company if the top management is female. And people hate, or those who were questioned in this in this study, they hate to have female bosses. 52 of the men that were asked said that 52% of the requested men would prefer to have a male boss. There, I can imagine, right? This would, and then 65% of the women would also prefer to have a male boss. When I read this, I was like, okay, well, this is not very encouraging, but okay, the study comes to the conclusion that still it would be good to have more female leaders, because then, of course, talent retention is, of course, nowadays in the war for talent, a really important thing. And of course, have a high turnover costs a lot of money to the organizations, right, to bring people in. I'm very curious to read, or try to read your face.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking what guys coming from that, right? So do we approach things differently? I think so. I don't know, because I've never been a male, but I think it's important. The reality is that I think we show up differently. I mean, there's facts, right? We look different, we dress different, we act different, we have different hormones. These are facts, which by definition mean that we are different. And instead of trying the one to become the other, right, I think we need to create a space for everyone to show up. We are different. And that's what I'm focusing on, right? I show up differently, and I try not to compete with my male peers. I try to embrace them. For me, it's not, male against female. I think we just need to reach a point of equality, of equal opportunity, and then to add value.
I'm hosting a young student. He's doing an internship at the bank in Luxembourg, and he told me 2 weeks ago, I was shocked, to be honest. He told me that his friends, when they create a company, because they think they are not the competition with young women to get internship in big American banks, they have less chance than their peer. If one day they create a company, they will hire only men. And I think that's a danger. We need to be very careful to embrace and not to be in competition between men and women. It has to be willing to all grow in our growth and give the chance to everyone. But I didn't find this way of thinking very healthy for the future. I'm talking about the 25 years old, so.
Wow.
Tend to agree with Amandine, honestly. I don't think there are something fully different. I think it's personalities. Most of the time, being quite different, even if we tend to agree that the way of communicating, the time we spend on something, and I think the retention is probably going to this also. I think that the time we spend with people sometimes are not people working for us. We try to develop is probably a bit higher. I think it's something we have in us. I see more with women, but I think not indifferent to us.
Yeah. So the study went on and said also that there were that a big difference seems to be indeed the communication style that women tend to implement in their organizations, and that the percentage of women who said they like to go to see their boss to discuss both professional and even private issues that they're having is far higher than there are female bosses. And then again, the conclusion was companies benefit from an improved communication culture, because it does not only, it's not vertical only, so it's not that people only see their bosses, but also that they like to communicate, or they start communicating better with their peers and on the right level if the overall communication culture in the organization is very well. Now, another question that I found quite we as a organization team found interesting in just to share if there were any the key turning point in your career. There are 3 seats. You don't have to stand. You just come and have a seat or grab another chair, but there are 3 seats with you. Do you remember of a key turning point in your career, a moment where you said, okay, if I want to go to the top, I have to do something different? Octavie.
I think this is the way of thinking, to be honest. I think there were 2 key turning points in my career, making that I'm where I am today. The first one is rather a kind of planet's alignment. Sometimes it's a question of chance also and right timing in life. I was in the blitz. I was like, okay, I don't feel I could be happy continuing doing this, so I would like to change. I had a friend working for Rőksau, and it was a super nice company. And so this night at 11 p.m. I sent my CV to the HR of the Rőksau quarter, just saying, okay, apparently you're a super nice company. In case you're looking for a profile like mine, this is my CV. That's it. Early morning, 8 a.m. I was told, like the group head of strategy wants to look me urgently. I never applied for strategy, I was in finance, the Master of Finance in financial auditing. I think I already knew I would be happy to change to fit. I was thinking I would probably have an interview towards something like working in financial controlling and then evolving having the accident to Rőksau. And they called me for this. I had the best interview of my life, the magical moments, where everything was obvious, the fit was there and everything. And so then the good chance, or I don't know, the timing, because they were looking urgently, so I had sent my CV the week after, I would not be there probably. So it was the meeting where at the end I had the job I didn't like to dream of. The manager I didn't like to dream of was super inspiring moment. Having something special, like kind of sensitivity, kind of empathy, the time to discuss, etc. So that was the first turning point, I would say, but it was kind of, yes. The second one is more of a decision. So I entered strategy, I spent like 4 years, I had my first year there. And when I came back, I'm like, okay, now I want to go to the next step. And I didn't exactly know what to do, but at that time I was like, okay, probably I want to stay at headquarters because it's where I was strategic, it's where you're more visible, it's where you work with the big bosses, it's where you know a bit of everything because you're aware of everything going on, it's very transversal.
So I was rather looking for something like that, and I was offered to be they were looking for a chief of staff for the CFO of the group, so it was a super good position, and so I was in this process. And then suddenly someone came saying, by the way, there is something in the small business unit international, but which is not Dexant France. It was even not a legal entity, it was a small team inside Dexant France. And it's very operational, and we could work on strategy there. Honestly, comparing both, there was, I don't know if we say this in English, but the royal pass, you know, royal in French, which was taking the job at the group in line with my plans. And just when arriving, I went to the interview, and then another time, woman, the CEO was a woman coming, and when I met her, you know, I had this thing in my mind saying, okay, when I grow up, I want to become, in fact, you know, I saw her, she was such a businesswoman on the field, super inspiring, having 4 kids. She's super nice, super professional, and I was like, okay, I hesitated, everybody was saying, take the best job. And at some point I said, okay, intuition, I want to work with her, this is where I feel, I will feel better, my way will be less easier, I won't grow that quick, say in terms of promotion, and I'm going to be headquarters invisible, but I will just trust kind of myself and destiny, and I will go there. And at the end, I think I went far quicker taking the starts, because I think what I understood really after this is there is no royal path which is the one for everybody, in fact. So you need to feel the place where you will be able to show your USP, I would say, where you will be able to show what makes you unique. So, and you will shine and you will succeed when you will be able to leverage what makes you unique. So always keep this in mind. I would say almost no matter where you go, find a place where you will be able to bring something more and create a value that others cannot create probably. And this is where you will shine this.
Oh, beautiful story. Thank you for sharing. Amandine.
As a convinced European citizen, I can tell you what I would say, but for me the turning point was Brexit. And coming back to the LGBT of the country, the way Luxembourg addressed this kind of political system, we can say that in Europe was very smart because they managed to attract, including your companies, 12+ companies in Luxembourg, and this created for people like me, having that career in Luxembourg, some opportunities. So each time I took one of the opportunities, I was terrified, but I took them. I followed my instincts as well, and it's also a lesson I learned. Even if you're terrified, just try the next opportunity and don't be shy in the place.
Some turning points in these careers?
I mean, mine definitely goes back to my decision to move from South Africa to Luxembourg. That was a big turning point, and where I gained momentum, and just from there ensured that I keep the momentum.
And we all know this must be. I've never been to South Africa, but I imagine this is when you don't move to Luxembourg for the good weather, right?
Definitely not on. That's right. I mean, it's also, it's not always easy when you are seen to leave everything behind in a country, having different paths to make that decision. But yeah, that was part of, as I said, I'm the personality that need to spread my wings, and that's where you again need to be true to yourself and grab opportunities.
So in my case, I think up to 2019, I was kind of taking several roles in the claims department of financial lines in Barcelona. And as you can imagine, that is a very technical role. And then I joined an executive leadership course for women in a study business school in Madrid. And that kind of changed my life quite a bit. Essentially not because anything had happened in the company, because that has nothing to do with it. But I started to feel, still a part of something bigger, and also a role of supporting other women in the company, I think was started to become more important to me. And I learned a little bit to think more strategically So I was quite happy minding my own business, and then I thought, maybe I could do more, actually. And so the opportunity came with Brexit, as Amandine, I guess, and yeah, I took it, you know, and I think that experience opened up my mind a lot, and also got a lot of friendships with other women that were very career oriented. And I guess at some point you get contagious by this spirit.
And when you said you did it, what did you do? You did the studies and everything, but then you just applied for a job, or did you go to see a C-level person saying, "Here I am, please consider me for more," or what?
Well, I did not do that exactly, but so I think that what happened was opportunities opened up as a result of Brexit, and whereas before I would have been more passive about those opportunities, I was not so afraid to discuss with management what's interest, what is the profile they were looking for, and take the risk of stepping ahead. I think the biggest change for me was taking more risks. So I've become at the beginning of my career, I was more reluctant to take risks. And now I believe that actually it is important to receive a no and a rejection from time to time, because that gives you a lot of information about yourself and where you stand. And taking that into account, I decided to move forward on certain discussions, and it turned out really well. So very happy I did that.
Me too, otherwise we wouldn't have you here in Luxembourg.
Thank you, Cornelia.
I also have a moment in my career where I think I made a decision on my personal. It was really more the behavior side. It was years ago. I had a manager whom I fear liked me less than I would have hoped him to like me, and put it in a different, put like that. And so I was quite unhappy because I felt I was doing such a really great job in the organization, and he just obvious, it was obvious that he disliked me. And so I asked for help. The company was happy to supporting me with the coaching. So I got some coaching sessions, and the coach said, "Okay, can you explain to me why you think, what makes it that you think you're doing a great job?" And I had a sales responsibility, and I still believe that sales is a lot about making the different stakeholders in the organization wanting to sell the product, right? So I started saying, yeah, well, I make that the network of my sales partners are happy, and now the key people in my sales partners organization are happy, and my sales team is happier now. And it was all about happiness. And so the lady looked at me and said, "Really, Cornelia, you don't have to, it's not surprising. I just think if you speak in this way with your boss, he must think he just doesn't understand what you're saying." And then she's like, "What?" Because all the male salespeople I've coached so far, they would have answered, "I increase new business by 30%. I increase profitability by 15%. I have a stable growth in this and that segment." They would just talk figures. Still do believe that and happiness was what made people, what the sales organization work better, and the figures would be the result of what I did. But and she said, "I think you have to consider that the world of company was not created against women. It was just created without women. Like 50, 60 years ago, in insurance companies, there were no female leaders. So when I was my 30s, there were no female leaders, right? In the organization I worked. So, and then you have to think that you have to adapt your way you speak to what your boss is listening all the time. And this was it sounds like nothing, but for me, it was a real struggle. I really felt that I was selling my soul to the devil if I now started just talking figures. Really, I'm exaggerating, of course, but I really felt that this was it was not something that I could change from one moment to the other. I really gave it a lot of thought, and then at one moment I thought, indeed, let's just try it. And that's and so of course, in all following moments in my career when I had to present myself when I applied for the position, I had all these figures and it's like 30% new business every year, and profitability I charge from it. And I always found this a bit funny about myself. The figures were there, right? So this was the success that I had. And I just thought, let's try it. Let's speak in a way that my former boss would have understood perfectly. And I don't know if this was the reason why my career developed better afterwards, but I tend to think there was maybe a little bit.
So Cornelia, I'm very curious. Did you manage to change your relationship with your boss?
No. Oh, that was ridiculous. I did everything. It's one moment I offered him 2 Playmobil figures, the White Knight, and then he said I stand behind it. That was ridiculous. This is also what the coach said. So he did not only give good advice, but no, at the end he left and I took over his position. So justice was reestablished. Oh God. No, he had his qualities, but he didn't like it. Was to share stories, right? This is what we promised, it what we do. Okay. Yeah, there's another question that we prepared, this more traditional one, is about challenges. Are there challenges that come spontaneously to your mind that you overcame and you had to face, and where you really said, I did it. I overcame my challenges. So, I think he's nodding.
Sure, I'm happy to share. So I think there's 2 key things as I grew and developed over the number of years, right? First one is really to fight bias. I think this is, for me, my biggest challenge was at a point in time when I eventually decided at a very late stage in my life to have kids, how many people reacted surprised that I eventually gonna have kids. We thought you're just this ambitious businesswoman, right? And since then, I've been fighting biases on perceptions, whether it's, perception becomes reality at the end of the day. Being an ambitious full-time working mom with 3 young kids. So I have a 7-year-old son and I have 5-year-old twins. And now I have a global job and I had to commit to, also traveling around the world and balancing my professional career with a very demanding private life, right? So, and there's still bias out there, right? People reacting in different ways to my reality and their perceived, perceptions of my reality. But it's important in terms of sharing advice, right, to also manage these different perceptions. So what I've done when I saw some of these reactions about, oh, you're now going to become a mother. So, I immediately went to HR and I said, you don't take me off any succession list. How I manage my life and what I do and how I manage that is with me, right? So I'm sure for our male colleagues, when they have kids, they are not told, oh, really, you have a kid, does that stop your career? I think that's very important, but quite frankly, I still find this whenever I travel around the world, one of the first reactions is, how do you manage being a full-time working mom with a global job and 3 young kids? So that's clearly a key challenge. The second one is, right, we talk about successful CEO females. The reality is, right, the journey comes with challenges and compromises. It's not just all easy, right? There's phases in this journey where you really have to decide, do you go left or do you go right? And that's a personal decision, right? But that comes as part of the journey, right? It's not just all easy. And sometimes you have to, right, face these tough decisions on your journey. I had to face a decision when I was asked, do you want to get this global role, right? Do you stay in Luxembourg or do you move to Zurich? And I was very clear that, I stay in Luxembourg because this is where my families and my 3 young kids. And that's my compromise, how I manage this, right? And I think it's really important, right, just to realize as you go along a career journey, right, it does not just come with all the glory. It comes with a lot of challenges that you need to address along the way and choices that you have to make.
The funny thing is that the challenges are not only the real, I don't know, you have to decide if you close a business or you open another one, but then also the challenges are these personal things, right? In which male CEO has ever been asked how he managed having 3 children at home. I've been asked this so many times, and I could be like, oh, you did a networking one. What happens with your daughter? I said, well, first, we broke. I don't know. Imagine they have a father. And I answered that, and the guy said, oh, do you trust the father to go down with them? I don't know. I said, I really trust he wants to take care of me. I don't know. Well, I'm still alive, so they.
Exactly this, you know, I just said my husband is managing a lot, to be honest. But you know, he said when he's managing, you're not controlling. So I'm not checking how they're dressed on the pictures from the baby daycare. You know, so you're like, okay, if you're not managing, you're not really doing it. So,
Challenges you overcame?
I had one.
I think we can tick this one, we all. Okay.
Yeah, one which was not a career one, it was more a business one, which is quite recent in fact. So I became the CEO of Luxembourg in January 2022. And 1 month after, I had my head of sales, meaning the person leading all the agencies in the country, the brokers and stuff, being away for months. So I had my first job as CEO. First time in Luxembourg, I was still commuting between Paris, where my family was, and Luxembourg, and suddenly, over the night, I became as well full-time executive committee role of head of sales. So it took almost 2 years when I had to cover this in addition. And then, because 3 is a good number, I had to become HRD as well for 1 year. And at some point, I was the three, so CEO, HRD, and head of sales, so 2 full-time jobs in addition to mine together. No need to say it was a very, very challenging time. Sometimes you have the limits of your body and in your mind. So very challenging time. But I think at some point, you know, it's between one day after another, being organized. And then, you know, it's a mix of keeping, I could have found people quicker, to be honest, a new head of sales, a new HRD, and just to manage the topic, the urgency, having someone having the responsibility. But at some point, you know, I wanted to have the dream team. I wanted to have a dream team. It's like, no way I'm doing any compromise, taking the wrong HRD, or not because I had in mind who I wanted, but the person was maternity, so I'm going to wait. So I had to take the responsibility of it. So at some point, I was like, but you know, going through it, I think keeping the North Star of what you want to do, what is the targets, and was advocating an investment. So it was super in terms of timing and etc. But you know why you're doing it, you know, because you're doing the right choice for your company, the right choice for you afterwards. The way you have the dream team is nice and really now. And I think one of the tips I would say is it's also choose the right boss. I'm really a people person, so you can feel it, but at some point it's very important. You need, when you find a job, when each time you're going to take a decision for your professional career, don't do compromise with the person you're going to work on. Don't choose the job just because of the person, if the person could move. So don't choose it just for the person, but before that you have something, you have someone who is inspiring you, who is aligned with your values. And when I had to go through this during those hard 2 years, really helped me with, because when you have a boss who really trusts you, and you can just call it, saying, by the way, it's hard, or sometimes it's too hard, you can just share it, you know, being supported in any way you need. It's, for me, it's really something that helped me all along my career. I was super lucky, honestly. I had along the 17 years, I had 3 super top bosses, and I think it's really what changed. What changed the way of leading, the way of managing, having kids and having the career, and the way of trusting myself. And I think, Vanesa, you were saying it, to see the opportunity even when it's terrifying. You know, sometimes I share with the boss, hey, I'm not sure I can do it. It's okay, but we offer it to you because we know you can do it. You know? So having those kind of people around you, be sure that you have around and you say that whether you're planning yourself, the right people, trusting yourself. That's
Fully relate to that. Another challenge?
I think that everything has been mentioned. I think the only thing for me has been a challenge in the last years, maybe, has been to learn to let go. So as you move ahead, you need to learn to leave other things behind. It's part of what you were saying, actually, as well. And that's very important because if you try to embrace too much, you can end up failing everywhere. So it's important to get the right focus and to do that as well as go through decisions. And I think that may be something very female, maybe, We tend to stick to a team and it is important to know when your time is over, you're also going to give opportunities to that team if you move forward and you let go. And at least that has been a challenge for me.
Maybe if I can just add to that, I think that's super important to learn how to do that, right, with your full picture, the full rounded picture. And I think one thing that I learned to help me manage this, right, not to be best employee, the best boss, the best mother, the best partner, the best friend, is just to brutally prioritize in your life, right? What is important now? What do I have the capacity for? If this is my choice of what I want to do, how do I support my choice? And then not to feel guilt for the rest, right? So I made a decision to have this career. With this decision comes that I actually need a nanny who to help me, right? But I accepted the reality for the number of years that I have small kids in the house, not to compromise, right, on my ambitions. And then you accept the choice because it drains you when you try to be everything to everyone and live with the guilt of things that you just cannot manage, right? So I think as females, it's really part of our DNA, nearly, to want to be, everything for everyone. But, it's just not possible in everyday life to be everything.
On this, I received a very good advice just before going to maternity leave for my first child, from a partner at the big four I was working for. Babies do not need a bus every day.
Actually, this panel was meant to inspire younger women in the career part. It inspires me fully. It's good to know I'm not alone. It's really wonderful. We are coming more or less to an end. So I have one question, just a very, the colleagues called this the quick fire round. What key tip would you share with women entering the insurance sector today? Just one sentence or one idea, which maybe Octavie, if you want to start.
Based on what I shared, so do not see there is on one path or one regular path, Insurance industry, okay, this is one industry, but it's super wide, what you can do inside it's the truth that you placed on your life balance.
Stop thinking cosmetics and because things change.
So mine is give yourself a chance against all odds and do it with all conviction and all passion, but with kindness to yourself.
So I think I would advise people entering into the insurance world to be mindful of taking risks. It's very important to take risks from time to time to advance in your career. So go for it. If you get a rejection, it's fine. Life goes on, and that will give you a lot of information on where you stand.
Yeah, and my advice would be believe in others who trust you. So if you're offered a job that you think is too big for you, the person who offers this job, normally, the managers are not all out of their minds, right? So if they think you have the capacity and the competence to do something, well, then go try. Nobody expects you to be perfect at day one. At day 3 is good enough. So you have time, the organization that offers you a position that you think is wow. You will be able to grow into it with the effort and with the support that you will get. And then also, cross bridges when you come to it. Deal with problems when the problems come up. Don't start at age 28 to think, oh no, I can't move, I can't take over this role because then I will have children. No, you will deal with the children when they are coming, not now. You just take the job now and you do the career now and the problems will be solved by you and your environment when they are there. Yeah, this is it. Q&A, are there questions? Here or online.
No, we just need to apologize to the online audience. We're having technical difficulties, so we don't see your questions. So I really apologize for that, but we can take questions in the room.
say some of that. What do you see as the main challenges that professional women here in Luxembourg in this market currently face, if any?
Maybe I'll give it a start, right? So I think that in Luxembourg, right, we are, especially in the private sector, which is the environment we operate, right? We are a majority of expats living in this environment, which means many of us, including myself, come from another country. You move here with limited support network around you, right? And I think that's where it's really important, back to my points of how I managed my situation over the last 12 years, right? With family far away, the support network far away, not having that strong common culture that you have around you, right? Of activities, and nearly, they said it takes a village to raise a kid, right? In Luxembourg, given the expat community, it's hard to find that village to help you raise or address your challenges. And I think as you progress in your career, it's important to think about it and how you navigate. But that is purely my personal experience, and I think that is honestly a challenge from Luxembourg. The opposite side is what Amandine said, right? The diversity, right? In our organization, we have 25 different cultures. I love that every day. Right? But on the personal side, and it's okay when the wheel keeps turning every day and you have your normal routine. But when there's a crisis or emergency, this is harder to navigate.
I fully agree. I would have said the same. I moved here, family there. I think there was a very good system on scheme with all the crèche, the foyer and stuff. But foyer and crèche, they take care of your kids during the day. And then when you pick them up at the end, you still have all the mental load in the city of everything, like it's the sport battery for tomorrow, the bath is not taken, the dinner is not started. And so I feel the nanny model is not super usual in Luxembourg. I finally have one since 2 weeks after 2 years and a half. And it's really changing your life, and it's something that I experienced when I was in Paris, when we were sharing a nanny with 2 families. I think it was helping me with more flexibility, with more mental load taken, not just taking care of the kid, but helping you a bit more in the organization, bringing the kid to the doctor, those kind of things happening during the day when it is. So yeah, having more different supports, I think it's a bit less flexible. It's very well done, but it's less flexible than what you can have somewhere else. And yeah, I think it would have improvement to have something more flexible and to manage the kids.
But thanks to Brexit, to COVID, it's already much better than before COVID. In organization, you have more flexibility now.
So from KPMG, and I'm very thankful for these inspirational histories, yours history. I'm part of the 35% of the men that flags to work with females. But gender equality, I'm not saying for success is made of ups and downs. Is there anything you regret in your career? Whoever wants to answer.
I have my very first job opportunity that I did not take. I don't regret absolutely, because it would not have been in insurances, but this is the reason why I'm so very much encouraging younger people to just go for it. I remember when I was a young mother in Paris, I made a friend, an older mother. So I had my first, she had and she was a communication director in a huge company. And she said, "Oh, we need people like you who speak good English and are good in communication." And I did not take, and then she said, "Oh, but be prepared. In our organization, we work a lot." The organization, they will have 35 hours per week, Wednesdays, or every second Wednesday. And I was so afraid of this comment that in the end, I went to a very small firm where indeed I had 5 weeks of vacation before, and I was just so afraid that it would be too much of a challenge for me that I did not even go to the interview. This is why I think you have to, at the end, it's all good, right? I love my job now. I'm happy that I'm in Luxembourg and doing whatever. But this was some where I always thought, that's stupid. Why didn't I at least try and listen to it and find out more about it?
So Eros Sharma, Vukovic advisory at Rogers Buxton. Nice to see you. I was talking to the HR director yesterday, and she's losing talented women in the organization. And the reason for she's losing talented women in the organization is because there's a positive bias towards promoting women. What's not liked is that there needs to be a bias. So women in this organization don't like that. It's a forced bias to promote women. They feel that that should not be the case. It should be natural. It should be earned rather than forced. What do you think of that? And how does it address it?
See, none of us on the stage are here because we are women.
I want to say I have a very strong opinion against it, right? So I always say whether I recruit or whether I am recruited, I'm very clear on that, right? So I started by saying I position myself to be the strongest horse in the race. And that horse in the race means the rest of the horses are males and females, right? But I want to earn it on merit. What is important to me, though, is that there's equal opportunity. I'm going to give you one example. Whenever I sit on a panel where I recruit for a role, or if I have someone in my team being recruited and others interview, I always say that I need to see that the interviewees were balanced. So don't present me a list of 5 males or 5 females. Present me a balanced interviewee panel, and say for interviewers. So when I'm asked to be part of an interview panel, I ask, who is my co-interviewers? And is it a diverse panel? Not just in terms of gender, right? But also, if I work in an international company, I don't want to have 3 Swiss colleagues sitting on that interviewer panel because we are an international company. And when it's not balanced, I insist. Because I believe, right, I came here and it's part of my duty as a leader to advance. So at the end of the day, I tell the people the best person gets the job, but there needs to be equal opportunity in the process.
So I agree, of course, with what has been said. However, I do think that for certain positions, it is helpful to give some privilege to certain categories, right, of employees. Why am I saying this? Not because I consider that that women that have a position have not earned it, but it's just going to be very difficult to reach equality unless you give them a little advantage now. That should be only on a temporary basis and then remove that. But it applies to women or any other diversity. As she said, you want to have a diversity, so therefore if you trend towards hiring always the same type of employees, you're not going to achieve that. So I guess from that point of view, you do need to be a little bit biased when you employ people and say, look, I have a lot of these type of people. I'm going to try to employ this other type. And I think that's the only way to get some equality around. If you give the people that are not represented equally a bit of their own advantage. Hopefully it should be a temporary measure, but I think it's helpful.
Yeah.
Studies say that men tend to apply to jobs even if they only feel like 60% of the job description. Women tend to apply only if they feel 100%. I think in that position only applies if 100%. Do you feel that having women as leaders and as role models helps you understanding that you don't need to have the 100%? And how important was it in your career?
I think so, honestly, because but I learned also that you see telling me it was a child email telling me when just having the job here. I said, are you sure? You know, I never manage agencies, and it's a management model, and he said that's just some stuff. You know, I wanted to do it. Nice for you that you don't manage all the job from now. You need to grow, so you need to grow in this job, not to grow just for this job. So I think I don't do this, but as a manager, it's something I'm very careful of. You know, when I had to recruit a young HRD, I remember, you know, my first reaction was, are you sure? You know, dates or I'm just specializing this. I said, if I'm offering it to you and I will help you, in fact, I will help you to be able to do it. So
I think that spending time on this, women are probably spending a bit more time, to reassure, to show that you can, while the bits compared to what you're saying, the figures, compared to people are happy. I think men are more easily on facts and figures, while you can spend as women perhaps a bit more time on this to support. And I think this is our job. It's a nice job, but once again, I have a great manager right now. It's totally in this way, so I agree, and I think out of 5 advice we gave at the end, Cornelia, Vanessa, and myself, we all insisted on this point. And I think it was also one of the purposes of this kind of festival and panel, that you're sharing your story, and by showing that if you believe it, almost everything is different. So just try, and if you try, that's fine.
Great closing words. Thank you for this. Thank you for your openness and for joining the panel and for sharing so openly your stories, your experiences. For me, it was very enriching. I hope that some of you might also have taken something from it. And again, thank you very much to KPMG for having us. Maybe can give some closing words.
Thank you. I think that it was really an honor for us to host you today. I think we all agree that we have the privilege to hear from wonderful women leader and to hear about their story, which are different, their challenges, which are different. And it was very, let's say, very inspiring. I'm not sure that being back 10 years ago, we would have been able to have, let's say, 5 women CEOs here coming from the insurance sector. So as you say, that's, I think, as an introduction, progress has been made, but we still have room for improvement. And I think that all of us, we have a role to play in offering more inclusive, as you said, and diversified place for our people. So thanks again. Thanks, Cornelia. You were amazing in the organization. Also, thanks for the support of our women from Transfer and Liberty. Yes. And so, as you say as an introduction, let's have a drink now. Yeah.